We've broken a wheel bearing. Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're continuing work on Big Red. So if you guys missed last week's video, we actually made fully functioning front steering for this thing. So what we're going to do today is actually make that front beam that's all connected to removable, so we can take the engine out, put that magneto on, and hopefully get this thing running for the first time. So let's jump into it. Alright, so we've got the engine out there. Now that was pretty difficult. It was a tight squeeze between hitting these mounts on the engine and the actual steering. But that's alright, we did get it out, so it can come out. And that'll give me access to fully weld all these eventually anyway. So I've got the engine here. I know you're not supposed to lay them on their side, but this one has leaked out most of the oil anyway, so it's just gonna save a little bit down in there. So as you can see, it's very dirty underneath. I've actually got quite a leak coming out from somewhere here. I've got to try and figure out where. But we're going to take this cover off and hopefully we can replace it with our new magneto. So that was pretty good to do. I've got it all back together and new wiring down here so we can plug all that into our new harness. Now I've used a little bit of orange 3-bond sealer there just to seal this up because I didn't have a gasket kit yet, and I'll probably have to pull this thing apart again anyway just for looking at all these leaks. So we'll see how it goes, and then we'll might have to pull it back down and give it a rebuild. hopefully this will be the last time that we have any dramas. Let's kick it over. Alright, so I've done a little bit of research and I think I've found the issue here. This is actually the stop button, so you slide this across, it's on a spring, you go either way and it emergency stops the engine. It's actually stopped in the stop position, so if we flick it over into the center, it'll actually disconnect that green wire there from the yellow or the red one, and then we should have spark. So fingers crossed this thing will run. Alrighty guys, so now we know that engine runs well. We need to start hooking up some controls to it. So we're going to hook up the clutch lever and the cable on there, and I've got a gear shifter here. This one's off that little 140 engine that I was going to put in the golf cart many videos ago. I've been raiding a lot of parts off that, but this one is metal. The one that was on this 200cc motor was actually like a cast iron stuff, so couldn't really do much with that. So I'm going to take the kink out of that. Hopefully that's a nice comfortable shifter. And if you guys haven't seen, we've now got Big Red merch available on the website, so you guys can help support builds like this, keep going, and many future ones. So yeah, jump over and check those out. Alrighty guys, check this out. So we've got that all mounted up. This thing works really well. Now I had to set it so far in because I wanted to leave enough room for that kickstart lever. I really am unsure on how we're going to do that. So I just wanted to leave enough space just for that to sit there. Now the reservoir, we're actually going to mount up. Once I get the plastics on, we're going to mount that up there somewhere, so it's just nice and easy to get to. This back brake line is going to fit perfectly, so I have to route that underneath into the back rotor. So this thing's actually really good, so it's a fair bit of room here. So what I'll do is when you're driving, you just put your foot there and then you can come over and just stomp on that. It doesn't actually need that much pressure, so you can do that, or you can bring it down and do that. So yeah, I think this is actually going to work really well. So let's mount up that rear brake rotor. Okay guys, so I've got the rotor mounted up there, so I've just tack welded it, and we'll do the same thing with the sprocket. So what this kit allows you to do is actually remove the bearings off the other side, so they don't have to, everything doesn't have to come off. So it's actually fairly easy. So I've got that tack welded and it is fairly straight. I think the rotor has got a slight little kink to it. There's not much I can really do about that, but I've welded this mount on here nice and straight anyway, so that's good. Now our brake cable is slightly too short. I think would have liked another probably 50 mil at least, so it just reaches. Yeah, so it just reaches there. So I think what we're going to do is make up a mount on here and make it come out of the top a little bit more, and then run some angle iron across nice and neat. Alright, so I've got that caliper mounted up there. Now I've only tacked it because I don't know how far that other brake pad's going to stick out. So we can't bleed this up or anything or permanently mount it yet because I don't have that other brake pad, but I can do that later. You can actually see how warped this disc is now. So I may have to contact where I got it from and try and get another one because I don't know if that's really going to work. Anyway, next thing I want to do, I'm going to drop it down on the ground, and I think we'll put those plastics on and see if we can get those roughly where we want them. Alrighty guys, check this out. This looks freaking amazing. So it's all on there, body's all one now, and it just looks so much better. We will be painting these red in the future once we paint everything. So I do actually need to make some body mounts because the body is kind of kinked there, so it'll all be nice and straight out anyway. So yeah, we'll make some mounts on the frame. So the next thing I want to do is jump onto this exhaust. So I've got a couple of bends. We're just going to use the same material as this for now until I find another solution. It is going to be way overkill, but it's just what I've got on hand. So yeah, we'll route that down to there and then put some type of muffler at the side, I reckon. Alright, so now we can jump onto this tedious job of actually making some room for the chain. So what we're going to have to do is remove this beam here at the top here and move it back to there somehow. So try and put some of them bends on and bring it back to here so we can actually get our chain out and under, because I did not think of that when I was building those lower sections. So yeah, let's jump to that. Alrighty guys, here is the beast. So we are a fair way along. I skipped through so much stuff because this video is just getting so long. So what we have now, I think where we left off is that chain. So I made some clearance down there for the chain. I've made a tensioner, brought it back to the rear end. We've also got the chain on the rear there now. Still don't have any rear brakes, that's one issue. That pad never turned up. So anyway, we've got all that on there. We've got a mocked up fuel tank ready to go, all plumbed in. Made up a carby mount and everything, so that's all nice and neat in there. So it's all routed. I've welded all the front end, welded the rear end just to where I could access it all, and just chucked the wiring in. We will be splitting all this back and actually making it suit this, but for now I've just thrown it all in. And the exhaust mount's done too, so we've got that mounted up. We've got the body mounted up as well. So yeah guys, I think we'll fire this baby up and see how she goes. Alrighty guys, so there you have it. That's Big Red's very first test drive, and it ran really well. That engine's really solid. Now the only thing I ran into was that steering is just no good. We're just gonna have to remake it. It just doesn't turn hard enough, and you just got no room inside, so we might have to put a racket pinion in there. And down here on the jack shaft, I actually ground a keyway in by hand, and it's actually slipping. So this is a taper lock fitting, and it actually tightens up on that keyway, and it's actually clicking along. I thought it was a clutch slipping, but it turns out that this drive gear is actually slipping on that jack shaft. So we're gonna have to take this shaft out and make up a milling attachment for our lathe, and then mill in a 1/4 inch keyway. All right guys, that's going to be all for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. So it was really good to get a first test ride in and actually see how this thing runs. It actually goes pretty good. We'll definitely be making up new steering for it though, being that there's not enough clearance just to drive this thing. And hopefully rack and pinion will be a lot tighter and give us a lot more sharper steering than what we've got at the moment. And we'll definitely tackle that jack shaft. So what I have planned is actually making up a tool for this lathe behind me here. and we'll hopefully be able to mill some jack shafts in-house, which would be really good. So we'll mill up a 1/4 inch keyway, get those taper locks sitting nice and even on the shaft, and yeah, hopefully get a better test ride in. Now, this will be the last video for this year, but I do have a lot more planned next year, so we're going to jump right onto that toy hauler, and I do have another secret build. I did put out a little poll that some of you guys answered. Some of you might know that actually, so we'll be jumping onto that next year, so definitely stay tuned for that, guys. I want to wish you guys a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and make sure you guys smash that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss anything. I'll see you guys in the next one.